Really excited to be joined by a legend, not only in Ole Miss rights, but Mississippi rights and the United States of America as far as Olympic athletes go. Brittany Reese, a Gulfport, Mississippi native, was here at Ole Miss from 2007 to 2008 after some years at MGCCC down in Gulfport. She's a four-time Olympian, Brandon, a three-time medalist, 8 additional medals on the world circuit, 5-time All-American at Ole Miss, 5-time SEC champion, 3-time SEC Women's Field Athlete of the Year. I mean, we talk about resumes. That's a resume, Brittany.
It is. I always like hearing it.
That's
I always
good.
like hearing it.
I'll read it to you every time I talk to you from this point forward. Fresh off of a silver medal in the Olympics in Tokyo this summer. How long does an athlete of your caliber get to ride that high of being one of the best in the world, accomplishing what you set out to train for year in, year out? You're at the pinnacle of athletic competition and you come away with a medal. How long do you get to celebrate that for?
About a month. Because then you got to get right back into training. Track and field is like a year-round type of deal. So I mean, you ride the high for a couple of weeks or a month, and then it's back to it because you still got world championships coming up the following year. So it's not much long.
Well, four different times, I should say, you've been to the Olympic Games. And
yeah,
as you're able to reflect on that, because 2020, 2021, whatever you want to designate it as, will be your last Olympic Games. I mean, you're one of the greatest to ever do it. In that month of celebration, have you been able to reflect on that at all?
I have, just doing just special interviews and things like that. It just reminds me of how blessed I have been these past my entire career, honestly. So I'm real blessed. I'm real grateful and honored, to be in this position that I'm in, and I'm looking forward to what's next.
This is the third, I said, medal in the long jump is what Brittany has been accomplished in. And London, I'm going to guess is what you're going to pinpoint as your favorite moment, being the gold medal that you've taken home. But what are some of the other memories that stand out to you from your years as an Olympian?
Just being able to go overseas and be around in the village and be around so many different countries and different athletes and different sports. It's always a great time to go there and be able to reflect and see how everybody else is, trade pins, talk, negotiate, you go to different events, and it's always a great time going there. So I love competing in the Olympics and getting all the fresh gear. They really hook us up. So
that never gets old, right? Even when you're like college or at the pro level, the gear is always there, right?
The gear is always the gear, regardless of where you're at.
So obviously this past Olympics was pushed back because of COVID. What was that like? And with no fans, I mean, because you are, I remember your college days. Even then, you like to get the crowd into it with your, you got your clap cadence that I've always been like, that's a Brittany Reese special right there. You may have gotten that from someone, but I know it as Brittany Reese. What was it like with no fans? And how do you get yourself to the level you need to be without having kind of, that kind of support there?
It was tough, but over the past year and before the season even got really started, we started having competitions where there weren't really that many fans. So for me personally, I just worked with a psychologist and worked on how to bring out the inner beast, because he reached the beast. So learning how to bring out the inner beast and not having to rely on the crowd as much. I definitely say it helped. Because when you get there, you have to focus on yourself. And there were some people in the stands, there were some athletes, coaches. So I was able to get the clap a little bit, but it wasn't a lot because some of them was up your opposing opponent, so they don't want to clap for you. So they don't want you to win, especially me. So I made do what I could, and it turned out pretty well.
So on that note, I know that without having fans there, without having kind of that crowd momentum, you have to do something obviously to get yourself kind of going. Yeah. Give us some names, some artists that's on the Brittany Reese, the Beast. I know your playlist has to be labeled the Beast.
Yeah, it is.
Give us some of the, what's that playlist got on it?
So I listen to a lot of like Yo Gotti, Lil Wayne. I'm more of a Southern rapper. Ti. My son likes
You gotta have
NBA.
David Banner on there. You got David Banner.
I
on
actually do, and that's
Okay.
funny thing was I was riding in the car and a David Banner song came up, and I was like, oh, this be a classic. So I was bumping it on the, I'm from the Gulf Coast, I'm bumping on the beach. But yeah, some David Banner, like I'm all like Southern type rappers. I like the Southern Kevin Gates, those type of rappers right now.
Awesome. So you mentioned it from the coast. When did the Olympic dream start? I mean, when did you really think, okay, this is something that I think I can do, and make it to that next level, and then the next level, and then the largest level or the biggest level, which is the Olympics? When did that start?
I think it kind of started when I was a kid. But I always thought that I would be in the Olympics for basketball. It was never track and field. I used to always watch the Olympics with my mom and my sister, and I was like, I want to go to the Olympics one day. But who would have thought that, I did go, but it wasn't for what I thought it would be.
You mentioned it, junior college hooper at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. What went into your decision to, when you were pinpointing the path you were going to take, what was that ultimate reason for being a long jumper and not a basketball player?
So my last year at the community college, we had some mishaps. People got in trouble, and we ended up going to like a regional basketball game, and with like 6.5 people. And I only say a half because one of the girls' ankle hurt, so she don't really count. So we had 6.5 people, and I was devastated because I'm real emotional in what I do, and so I went back, talked with my mom, and she basically gave me some great advice and said, if you wanted to have people rely on other people, go with basketball. If you want to rely on yourself, go with track and field. I got tired of playing games with other people and just wanted to try something new, and stuck with track and field. Went back to track and field.
So on the court, what was your style of play for basketball? How would you identify yourself?
I was actually a guard. The person I kind of remind myself of is kind of like a Dwayne Wade. But in the community college, because in college I could dunk. So because I can dunk and had so many hops, like I played from 1 through 5. Like I was jump ball, I was anything, any way they can get me open. So I played it all. So it was pretty cool.
So we have the basketball background, but if it's not that, if it's not track and field and it's not basketball, and what's the other sport that Brittany Reese makes it famous playing? What is it?
Ooh, you know what? I would probably say, if it's not track or basketball, most likely like softball. Like I've gotten into, it's weird. Like I've gotten into it, and when I was at Ole Miss, I went to a lot of softball games. I can't hit it, but we'll see.
Look, you got the slapper, you got the slap, you slap it down, and you got to beat it out. I think you can do it. You got
I played a little church softball, and I did what I could.
That was always my thing watching the Olympics too. Is your approach? I always remember being like, man, she is fat. Like she maybe 100. Can we get her in the 100 meters?
I run the 100 to get in shape, because them girls are fast. Like I like my confidence and my self-esteem a lot in the long run. So I don't want to jump in there with them some horses over there. I'm out of that.
DK figured that out. He did well, but he figured out real quick. Those dudes are the truth.
They are the truth. I don't want none of that. They got it.
Yeah, I think that leads into this conversation because, as Brandon said it, DK found out what Olympic speed was, and he did not perform poorly in the trials.
No, he didn't.
But what do you think about?
He did not perform poorly. He didn't. It was actually a really good race for an athlete of his caliber, his size, football. I enjoy watching. I got a good kick out of it. But I mean, everybody think that they can just line up against some of these top athletes in the sprints, and it's no joke. Like they do this for a living. So,
do you think though that a track and field athlete, a long jumper, a high jumper, could translate more easily if they were to say pick up a 10-day contract in the NBA or get a tryout with an NFL team?
And I think they really could, because track and field is basically a sport that basketball can do, football can do, baseball can do, anybody can do track and field. I feel like when I was growing up, I used track and field just to stay in shape. It wasn't really nothing really serious. My first priority was basketball. So I really do think a lot of these track athletes can have that opportunity to go try for a 10-day contract. I mean, they can punt return, kick return, anytime. They're fast, so I'm pretty sure they could. I mean, I know we had a couple of guys that were I know Marvin Bracey was.
Marquise Goodwin.
Marquise Good, he's still there. We got a lot of.
Gatlin played at Tennessee, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So leaving Mississippi Gulf Coast, what was, and obviously Joe Walker was here, and I know he's been an influence in your life, but what made you say, okay, Ole Miss is the right fit? You grew up a Gulf Coast kid, went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, coming out of there, I'm sure could have went to any kind of maybe pick and choose.
Yeah, I did.
What made Ole Miss the right school?
Yeah, like you said, I had offers everywhere, LSU, all the SEC schools. But I think what sold me on Ole Miss was I took a visit right after my state championship, and just the love and the love that I got and the support that I got from Ole Miss and how they treated my family. I'm really big on family. And I'm really big on energy too. At the time, I was still big on energy. So the way that they treated my family and treated me when we came on our visit, the love, support, and Coach Walker, of course, just seemed like it was where I needed to be. And like I said, I had offers everywhere, but that place seemed like it was just the better fit for me and my family.
Well, I think that's a recurring theme with a lot of athletes that we talk to, and I think just people in general, whether it be regular students, even me as a student that just came here, no ties previously, no family members that went here, and you just get that family feeling when you showed up. One of my favorite things about following you on social channels is you're so locked in with Ole Miss sports, right? So, when the baseball regionals are going on, you're tweeting about it. When softball, it doesn't matter. Everything, and I think that's really cool and really unique that you stay locked in with all Ole Miss sports. Why is that so important to you to kind of always be on our side, right? Cheering for the red and blue.
I guess because the way I was treated down there. I love Ole Miss and I love Mississippi Gulf Coast. I love Gulf High, and I just love sports in general. So I feel like if I went there and they showed me love, and I'm going to show love back, I'm going to always be that alumni that you can talk to. I'm gonna argue you down about Ole Miss football all the time. So I got family that's really big Alabama fans. So and my grandfather, when he was alive, he wanted me at LSU. So I talk mess to everybody about football, basketball. It don't matter what it is. I'm gonna support Ole Miss regardless. It's where I went, and it's where I'm always have my heart at.
Well, I think we'll open up the curtain a little bit. You're coming into town for a football game here this season, and you said you wanted to line it up with a women's basketball game. I'm so excited for you and Coach Yo to finally meet, because I think you two are going to get along so well.
Yeah, I know. I follow her on social media. She's funny. She's great. She's a great ambassador for our sport and our school. And it's just great to have that type of a coach. And the players, how the players just attached to her and they want to play for her. And shoot, I'll be watching the game. I'm like, I want to play for her. Shoot. She's so energy, her energy is just amazing. I just love to want to finally be able to get down to Ole Miss and watch a game.
Well, Brandon, Sports Illustrated called her, quote, unquote, the most super accomplished and yet criminally underrated Olympian in U.S. history. And I'm reading this article, Brittany, and it's so true that we know that we named a couple sprinters just moments ago. They seem to be the ones that get the love and recognition. Why don't you think jumpers get the same sort of love on the big stage?
I just feel like it's just not marketed correctly. I've talked to a bunch of people about it. The article is 100% true, but just my love for the sport I could care less about, recognition and things like that. But it's just that the sport doesn't do a great job of marketing. We should be on TV a little bit more so our kids can see that, see the sport and be able to be motivated, just like we watch basketball, football, baseball, just like that. So once they get that together, I think the sport will make some changes. I mean, they're in talks with a lot of that right now, so hopefully it'll change in the right direction.
I do feel like it was featured a little more this year, a little bit more than normal. Like sometimes there's years where you don't even see every jump. You might see like the winner or the silver medalist or whatever, and it's like, well, I wanted to see everybody.
Yeah,
right?
I think it has to be marketed more so outside of the Olympics. We have meets all the time, almost every weekend during season. So, and we have big meets overseas, and a lot of those meets they make fans pay, and fans are not going to pay to watch that. So they should find different ways to put that on TV and watch how the sport grows.
And you've seen how that's impacted soccer or softball. It's certainly increased the appreciation of it. You talked about how much you enjoy sharing pins and getting to meet other people and different athletes from different countries. And we certainly saw it this year because y'all were the only ones supporting one another at these events. So in all the Olympics you've gone to, what are some of your favorite non-track and field events that you've gotten to sit in the crowd for? How much do you appreciate the level of competition from some of those athletes? You know what it takes to be in their shoes. It's just a different event.
Yeah, I've been blessed enough to watch men's and women's gymnastics. I've been blessed enough to watch men's basketball. I was hoping that they would open up a little bit. I wanted to go see tennis. I like Coco Golf. I wanted to see that. And I didn't get to see Michael Phelps, but it's just to watch those athletes in their do their thing and watch how they perform. It was great, especially the men's basketball game. I got to go where they was playing Nigeria, and Carmelo, oh my God, he was on like that game. He was just throwing up threes. And they were just going in. Like, it was crazy. I was amazed. But I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna miss being able to go to those things for free.
So Brittany, an amazing story to me surrounding or to everybody really surrounding your family is the adoption of your son from one of your childhood friends. Alex was your godson previous to that. What has that process been like, the adoption? And then, he kind of comes into a lifestyle where now all of a sudden you're preparing for Olympics and training and traveling so much. What is all that been, being a mother now and having all of this other stuff going on? What's that kind of process been like?
It was kind of tough at first. I homeschooled him when I first got him, and we found out early that wasn't the move because he's a social butterfly and he likes to be around people so he can talk and have conversations. But it was tough at first, waking up in the morning, making sure he getting his school done, then me going to practice. And then at the time I was also a community college coach. So we was like on the go from 8 a.m. to like almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was tough at the beginning of it, but I have a great support system. I had a great support system in Chula Vista. And if I needed anything, I needed them to watch him for me so I can go, have some me time. They were all for it. They would come by the house, watch him, and I come home and he'd be in the bed, sleep or playing video games. It's just great that I had that type of team behind me, coaches, athletes, and all those type of people was there for me at that time.
Awesome. Well, I see he's already a champion jumper. So, I mean, what do you see in him as a competitor? Like, what's his competition like?
Yeah, so he thinks he's better than me. So he got a couple of medals, and he's like, I got more than you. Not even understanding that those are just like little good. I mean, they're good medals, but they ain't on my level. So I gave it to him and said, yeah, whatever. So we have competitions all the time. He thinks he's better than me in everything. So right now he's playing football, and it's cool to watch him be on the field. He's playing defensive back. So it's cool to be able to watch him, do his thing. He's motivated. If I can just get him to be a little bit more responsible and a little bit more motivated, want to practice on his own, and I think he'll be a superstar. But I mean, every kid has to learn on their own. I'm not going to push him. So
for sure.
It's cool.
I mean, I'm assuming he has to look at you and see the competitive nature, the work ethic that goes in behind the scenes. Not, you just don't show up to the Olympics and
No.
jump. You don't show up to a qualifier and just jump. I mean, that's not how it works. I mean, is that process of you trying to help him understand that, the work is done before you even get there? I mean, I'm assuming you have to, that's probably always going to be a struggle, but something that you have to help him with.
Yeah. So during the COVID, I was able to turn my garage into a gym, and me and him worked out basically almost every day. I mean, he complained, but he'll get it done. He'll get it done. I had him and one of his best friends, and I mean, we had 3 at first, and then like after the first day, we had only 2, and they just started dropping. I guess I was a little too hard on him, but
gotta push him. That's awesome.
But yeah, he'll get it. He's been able to watch not only me but other great athletes that I get to train with, put in some work and understand that this is what, if you want to be great, you have to work at it. So I don't think he fully gets it yet. I don't think he'll get into it in high school. I guess it's because boys develop slow. I'm guessing. So
there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. My wife can attest to that. She still thinks I'm developing. You're still developing mentally.
Yeah.
We've been married for 6 years. She's like, you're still developing.
Yeah. So I'm not, like I told you, I'm not gonna push him. He knows what it takes. He knows what I've done, and when he's ready to actually put some real work and do it on his own without me saying you need to be going to go do this and go and do that, and he knows I'm right here for him.
Last Alex question. I did read that whenever y'all were long distance, you would take your Xbox to be able to play Call of Duty with him. Are you guys a Warzone duo? Do you play Warzone?
Yeah, we play Warzone. We play that's just basically Warzone because he has an Xbox. I mean, he has the PlayStation, I have the Xbox. So we would play, but when I took my Xbox with me to be able to play with them to Tokyo, we didn't have a TV. So we played Call of Duty Mobile.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the thing. We was playing Call of Duty Mobile, and the time difference is crazy. So during the day, like he'll get up and we'll just play a little bit, and that'll be our thing.
Brandon and I both frequent Verdansk. That's why I'm asking. Last question from me, Brittany, is what's next for you? I know you said you want to keep competing on the international stage. I have to imagine it takes a little bit more as you age in this industry. So what is next for you? What are you aiming to do?
So for me, I'm kind of halfway open, closed on a situation on whether I want to retire or not. I haven't made up a full decision just yet, but I'm getting into some business. I got an opportunity to coach if I wanted. So right now I'm just indecisive right now. So we'll find out in the next couple of months or weeks or whatever.
Well, you should get into the marketing of the jumping international. You seem to have a plan on how to make this, and you've certainly marketed yourself being the beast. I think everybody knows that about you. That sounds like a perfect marriage. I think the U.S. track and field needs to hire you as a marketing consultant for this.
I agree.
Well, again, a 3-time Olympic medalist. We're blessed to have you on here, Brittany, and you're a great ambassador for both the state and the university. Appreciate your time. And when you come into town for the football game, let's make sure we meet up.
Got you. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brittany.